Now, you're with us because you have spoken out about the issue that we've had on this show a lot is about the gender pay gap, the gender pain gap.
Yeah.
And we're on a mission, really, aren't we, to get sort of that to be taken much more seriously. Now, 1 in 2 women feel that their health concerns are ignored or dismissed because of their sex. And it's particularly true for those who suffer from things like endometriosis, which is the thing that you have spoken about. Now, on average, it takes, this is extraordinary, 8 years and 10 months to get a diagnosis. This is despite the pain actually being crippling when you have it. Just tell us a bit about what you've suffered with.
Yeah, so I started suffering pains as soon as I started my periods, really. So this was mid-70s, kind of 75, 76, and my mother never had period pains. So when I used to have these excruciating period pains, I would be bedridden, vomiting, unable to move, my legs would be in pain, my back. So she would call our local GP around, and he did not diagnose anything. This is not a period pain, this must be something else. You may have food poisoning. I even got told I had food poisoning once because of the vomiting, didn't make sense. And I was just given paracetamols. And also, when you're suffering really badly with period pains as a young girl and other people aren't suffering, you're looking like it's just a period pain, you need to get over it.
Right.
Or you'll grow out of it. But I never grew out of it. It got worse and worse. It was like a 48-hour labour pain, continuous labour pain. And it wasn't until I was old enough to go to a private doctor I got diagnosed.
And you had the money to do it, let's be honest.
Yeah,
you know, because that's a sort of privileged position to be able to actually seek out specialist advice. And it shouldn't be specialist. You shouldn't have to pay for it.
You shouldn't. And I feel so sorry for anyone who's going through that pain, because it really is. I will compare it to labour pain.
But when you were in Pepsi and Shirley, you were on tour with Wham and all of this. What were you, in your 20s there, do you think, there?
Yeah, where am I?
Oh, yeah, there was a lovely photo there.
Yes,
But I'm just wondering how on earth you managed yourself, you know, if you knew that 48 hours was coming up and you were on tour. I mean,
complete
must have...
fear, yeah.
Yes.
I would be looking at my diary. The thing is, Pepsi obviously knew how bad I was, so would always back me up and say, we can't do that. I mean, if I was on an aeroplane, I would just have to roll up in a ball, put a blanket over myself. I used to take too many ibuprofen and, you know, anti-inflammatory tablets, because you get to that point, but it's so dangerous to take anti-inflammatory, isn't it? Too many. So there wasn't any help. It was just literally, I feared that time of the month. So it becomes like a cycle. You're just thinking, oh, it's my period, and other women would be doing sports. And as a woman, also, I felt a little bit like, oh, maybe, you know, I'm just a weed and nothing, you know, I'm not very good at doing this. What's the problem? And it was embarrassing to tell anyone.
It's embarrassing to tell anyone. And then, can I ask how old you were when you actually got a diagnosis, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I was only like 22. Yes. Yeah, around 22.
So it had been going on for a long time.
Yeah, it'd been going on for a long time.
Dr Hilary's here as well.
Yeah.
There is actually no actual cure for it. You can just manage the symptoms, can't you? So why... Is it... I mean, obviously, we're talking about in the 70s and the 80s, you know, where women's pain wasn't really taken that serious. But even today, we hear about it. You know, Naga Munchetty over on the BBC has talked a lot about it on 5 Live. And I think it's, you know, there's certain women who are doing an amazing thing here about raising the conversation.
Yeah, Shirley's story is not at all unusual. Women are still waiting years and years to get that diagnosis. And one of the problems is that the symptoms are similar to other things, so it often gets dismissed. But these are period pains that are unlike normal period pains. This stops you doing your normal activities. This causes vomiting, dizziness. You're bedridden for a couple of days. And Shirley says actually childbirth was easier, pain-wise, than having the endometriosis once more.
Can you do it in layman's terms? What is endometriosis?
OK, so it's the tissue which usually lines the womb, but which spills out into the pelvis. So when the womb bleeds at period times, the other tissue bleeds as well. So you get organs sticking together, and that accounts for some of the symptoms. So common symptoms would be severe period pains, which would include pain that might go through to the back or down the legs and cause all sorts of other issues. Pain during intercourse and after sex as well. Infertility, difficulty falling pregnant, that's quite common with endometriosis. And sometimes there would be bleeding when you go to the toilet, either peeing or pooing, and that can be painful as well. So this conglomeration of symptoms is very indicative of endometriosis.
Yeah.
And if you think you've got that, go and see your GP.
And
don't live in
as you say, you
silence.
found this out at 22. And did you worry about your fertility?
Oh, I was told, yeah, that it will affect my fertility. And I was trying to get pregnant for about 4 or 5 years. So, yeah.
After
I knew
that, yeah.
Yeah, I did go home to my say, oh, God, I may be infertile. So I just wanted, so it made me want a baby even more. But, yeah, the thing is, and everyone's body is different. You can have a tilted uterus, a retroverted. So endometriosis also isn't one size fits all. There's different.
Yeah.
Ironically, pregnancy is actually bliss because you're not having
Well, you're not
periods
having
during
periods.
pregnancy.
Can I just ask
symptoms
you, we're
improve.
slightly running out of time, but I want to get some advice from you and you, of course, as a doctor. So from you to the women, what's your advice if you recognise some of this? How do you get through to the doctor? How do you make sure you get a diagnosis and get real help?
It is so hard. I think research, go into, when you get your appointment, have that knowledge, tell the doctor.
I think
exactly
I've got
what you want.
endometriosis.
No, yeah, absolutely.
And Hilary, what should you do if you're trying to book a GP's appointment and you're thinking, I've had enough of this?
Yep. Be assertive, go in and say, look, my symptoms are compatible with endometriosis. Do you think I could have it? If you want, take somebody with you for moral support or take a tape recorder. Say, can I record the conversation we're having? I wouldn't mind that at all.
Really?
If a patient says to me, can I record it? Otherwise, I miss.
That's
I won't
such a good
remember
idea.
half of what
Yeah.
you say. That's perfectly OK.
Amazing.
Or take somebody with you. Make sure you've got a diary of all your periods and how much the pain is, how long it lasts, how it affects you. And then there's always the Endometriosis
Inform
UK
them.
charity as well that can give you advice and support.
Great. Thank you both. It's so important. It is actually life-changing, isn't it, to get a diagnosis and to be able to manage your pain.
And you can manage it with
It's
hormones
the pain management
or
that's the
laparoscopic
key.
surgery.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Shirley. Great to see you.
Thank
Great
you.
to see you. Also lovely to see you, Hilary.
Oh, thank
I wasn't
you, Emma.
singling
And you too.
Shirley out, but I
Just
thought
an
I was.
afterthought.